Hi, my name is Kris Fletcher. I am the chair of the Fluids Committee, and I want to get started just a bit early because there has been a leadership change within the Fluids Committee. Peter Cooper has resigned from his activities within OCP. I think if you guys have been around for some time, everyone knows Peter's name. He's made a really significant contribution to the immersion sub-project in general and fluids in particular. So I just want to say a big thank you to Peter. I don't know if he's going to watch this on YouTube. He's actually not here at the Global Summit this week. But if we could just take a moment and give him a round of applause in his absence for what he's done. So again, I'm Kris Fletcher. I work at BP Castrol. I'm the OEM liaison for their data center liquid cooling, and I want to introduce my co-chair, who is Spencer Kearns.
Hi, everyone. I'm Spencer Kearns. I'm a research chemist with Chevron Phillips Chemical. We're a base oil manufacturer of PAOs, which are single-phase immersion fluids. I've been participating in OCP since about 2022, and excited to join Kris on the Fluids Committee as the chair. So in the Fluids Committee, kind of our goal is to ensure that any of the fluids that are used in immersion cooling are deployed safely and reliably. So a lot of what we do is, contributing to overcoming that human factor that we've heard discussed some of today. So we have provided a lot of, educational materials to people that might be unfamiliar with fluids. So this involves creating definitions of different types of fluids that are going to be used in immersion cooling, providing guidelines on best practices, whether that's, handling fluids that are being used in service, all the way to how to take care of fluids at the end of their life cycle. And then also helping to define fluid specifications to ensure that, the fluids that we're using are safe and will meet the performance metrics that we need, and using all of these and developing standard methods to do so.
And if you were present this morning at 8 a.m. because you either did not go to our event last night or you were responsible during our event last night, it was shared with you what the structure of the immersion sub-project looks like. There's 4 technical committees: fluids, solutions, reliability, and IT equipment. And within the Fluids Committee, there are 3 active work streams right now. The work stream leads are up with us together on the stage. They'll be giving their individuals updates for what they've been doing in the last year. We have cleaning, oxidation, and fluid lifecycle management work streams that are active right now. We will be creating a fluid specification work stream and tackling the definition of fluid specifications based on immersion cooling type, single phase and 2-phase, or fluid type. And then we'll also be taking on the question of what happens to the fluid in service. So an in-service fluid quality questions that we need to address. But the Fluids Committee and the members of the Fluids community really have broad-reaching focus within the other technical committees. We are very actively participating with Amy on the rewrite of the requirements document. We have a strong input when we think about materials compatibility and the component level compatibility that's being undertaken by the Reliability Committee. And then we also make suggestions within the design guidelines that are suggested by the IT Committee. So if you are new to OCP and you're interested in fluids and you're interested in how you can contribute to OCP within the immersion sub-project, these are some work streams that you might consider looking into. So as I mentioned, there was a change in leadership at the committee level, but there was also a change in leadership at the workstream level, and I will no longer be co-chairing the fluid lifecycle management workstream. Together with Brandon, Alex McManus with INEOS will take over that responsibility. If you are interested in any of the active work streams, there are QR codes up along the bottom, and if you're interested in getting feedback from the Fluids Committee as a whole, you can follow the QR codes there. And then we will list again the co-leads for the different work streams.
Yeah, so we don't have QR codes for these two work streams here, but we are looking to kick off two new work streams in the next year, one being the fluid specifications. So in this work stream, we'll be working closely with the guidance that's been provided in the requirements document and kind of diving into the details of those different tests that have been recommended or required by OCP, and hoping to assign some benchmarking to those and try to streamline what is needed to receive OCP inspired status. Additionally, we are looking into starting a fluid monitoring work stream as well. And this one's really been an organic growth out of the oxidation work stream and the lifecycle management work stream and the fluids committee, where we'll be looking at what tests are required once you've deployed a system to monitor the fluid quality. How frequently do you need to test the fluid? What tests do you need to do? Is this an inline system, or is this an external lab test that needs to be used? So we've heard some talks that have kind of centered on that topic this weekend, but we'll hope to dive more into those details in this work stream. But to cover some of the contributions to OCP that the Fluids Committee has made in the past couple of years, we have published an immersion fluid safe handling guideline. So again, trying to address that human factor of those who might be unfamiliar of working with these fluids, where we've tried to communicate some of the hazards and how to handle these fluids. And in 2026, we'll be very active, looking to wrap up 3 different white papers covering oxidation, covering the fluid life cycle management, and also the fluid cleaning guidelines. So you'll hear a little bit more about each of those updates here today. And then also actively contributing in the immersion requirements revision that Amy just touched on, and participating in the materials compatibility work streams as well.
So now I'd like to invite Brendan and Alex to come up, and they will give you an update of what has been going on with the fluid lifecycle management workstream.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Brandon Marshall. I am with the Chemours Company. We manufacture 2-phase fluids.
I'm Alex McManus with Eneos. We make single-phase immersion fluids.
So taking a step back, when you think about our work stream originally, as we start to scale immersion deployments globally, a big question came up: what do we do with our fluids at the end of life? And while across different manufacturers, different sectors, and different technologies, there's various recycling and destruction methods, there was really no consolidated place for people to find information. Can you change the next slide? So what we did was we sat down a year ago, we pulled together a small but mighty team of folks who were willing to jump into this new area, and happy to report that we completed our first draft of our white paper. What this initial white paper does is it really outlines those options in a more meaningful way, breaks down what types of steps are taken, and how you can essentially handle these fluids when you need to dispose of them at the end of their usable life. It covers topics ranging from means of destruction, but also recycling, and different areas that end users can evaluate as to how these different options may impact their sustainability objectives. So we'll be ready to circulate that document here in the coming weeks. I'll continue to work with Kris now as chairing this, and Rolf, of course, to get that out to the community, and we'll be looking forward to receiving your feedback and comments. From there, depending on how many comments we get back, we'll look to potentially recirculate that again as a final draft, and we do hope to have it published here within the first quarter.
So for things coming up, we plan on going from qualitative to quantitative for the life cycle analysis, from gate to grave. We'll plan on using a CO2 equivalent method, but we'll be looking at ISO and other bodies to get that. If anyone has experience, interest, please join our group. We'd use some help on the next steps.
All right. Sorry.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Vanya. I'm from ExxonMobil, and we manufacture PAOs for single-phase immersion cooling. So I'm going to start off with a practical note. So I co-lead the oxidation workstream with Spencer, and we meet every 4th Wednesday of the month at 8 a.m. Pacific time. If anyone in here is interested in sharing your knowledge and joining our workstream, please scan the QR code. And if you could change the slide.
Yep, so I'll give the little progress report over the last year in the oxidation work stream. So over the past year, we've had a lot of great discussion after surveying a lot of industry relevant standards for evaluating oxidation. We kind of have settled on the IEC 61125 method to use to evaluate fluid resistance to oxidation. We have an existing white paper that is in progress, and we're hoping to get that out in the second quarter of the next year. In that white paper, there's a lot of educational background on oxidation, what's going on in the fluid, and also what kind of properties you'll see change as a fluid undergoes oxidation. Some of the things we're still looking to learn more about, if you have any expertise, is correlating some failure modes with some specific properties of different properties that change over the course of fluid oxidation. So in the next slide, so as I mentioned, we're looking at using IEC 61125. We're using this as a baseline fluid oxidation evaluation, meaning that it's really to evaluate kind of initially a fluid's tendency to oxidize. We're not intending it to be kind of a test that you use to evaluate the remaining lifetime of your fluid. It's more just to kind of make sure that any fluids that are entering the OCP marketplace are going to meet the standards and meet the timeline that we need to for these fluids to last in service. So currently, we've settled on this method. We're assessing some of the recommended limits from other industries like transformer oils, but making sure that we are keeping in mind that the immersion use case will be slightly different.
Oh yeah, so for evaluating oxidation in in-service fluids, on the structural side, we recommend using FTIR and GCMS. And on the property side, we recommend monitoring for color, viscosity, acidity, and also dielectric properties. It's important to note that certain property indicators, they respond to oxidation at different rates, such as color. You may say color change at an earlier rate compared to the dielectric dissipation factor, and then also the other properties such as dielectric constant and viscosity, they may change at a slower rate. However, we do recommend monitoring for these properties while the fluid is in service. This would help folks define and determine fluid health and also when to replace it.
And I think lastly, we'll hand it off to Roma and Janelsa to talk real briefly about theirs.
Hello, so my name is Roma Suriz. I'm working for Summer, liquid cooling solutions provider. And I acting as a co-lead for the fluid cleaning guidelines workstream alongside with Janelsa. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I am Janelsa Cardi. I work for Shell, and we supply Shell immersion cooling fluids for this space.
So we are going to, like in a few minutes, going to be showcasing to you on another talk what were the advances that we have done in our workstream so far, where we are trying to get to compile a white paper that would provide the guidelines to the operators operating in single-phase immersion cooling technologies on what are the techniques, methodologies, and solvents to be used to remove remnant fluid that is left over in IT hardware that has been deployed in single-phase immersion cooling solutions.
So we need to end with a call to action. There is a lot of activity within the Fluids Committee. I want to thank the leaders of the work streams, and if we could give them a round of applause for the work that they've done. We really appreciate the time you guys devote to this, and we would encourage if you have fluid handling experience, if you're a fluid manufacturer, if you're involved with tank manufacturing, an OEM or ODM manufacturer where your things will be dissolved in our or soluble, sitting in our fluids, cooling in our fluids, not dissolving, not being solubilized. Whew. If you are designing or constructing data centers or owning and operating a data center, we want to hear your voice because you guys will be our end users. And also, most importantly, we are looking to bring in experience with LCAs and a sustainability viewpoint so that we can advance what's going on with the Fluid Lifecycle Management Work Group. Please scan the QR codes for the individual work streams, but also the overarching fluids community so that you guys are able to get updates. There's also links to our mailing list in the wiki. So at this, we'd like to go ahead and say thank you very much. We have 1 minute for questions. We have 20 seconds for questions.
Austin loves his job.
So thank you guys very much.